This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 134 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, the third annual Horse Husbands episode. Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible. Our title sponsor is Omega Alpha. You can find them at omegaalpha.ca. This episode is also sponsored by Equestrian Collections. Visit them at equestriancollections.com. Plus Uncle Jimmy's for the finest horse treats around at uncle-jimmy's.com. This is Glenn the Geek, and you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. No Helena today. We have left the girls out of this episode. This is our most popular episode that we do every year on the Horse Radio Network. It gets the most listens in the tens of thousands, and it is our annual Horse Husbands episode. And I have two great horse husbands on here with me today. But I thought before I introduced them, there was a little bit of sound, a little sound file that I wanted to play that I think just describes our lives as horse husbands. It's one of the most famous race calls in America.
Here come My Wife Knows Everything, and the wife doesn't know on the far outside. Little Miss Macho is fourth or into the stretch. Lady Mutata, My Wife Knows Everything. Center of the track, the wife doesn't know. Into the final furlong, My Wife Knows Everything. The wife doesn't know. They're 1-2. Of course they are. My Wife Knows Everything in front. To the outside, the wife doesn't know. My Wife Knows Everything. The wife doesn't know. My Wife Knows Everything. More than the wife doesn't know.
Well, there you go. The wife knows everything wins the race, of course. And isn't that the way it always is? So we have fun doing this show every year. It's our chance. By the way, I wanted to tell the guys before I introduce them, there is a cone of safety around today's show. So whatever you say, we cannot be held responsible for. And I'm sure that your wives won't be listening to this. So that won't be a problem at all. I know that Rick's wife especially never listens to any of our shows.
Oh,
so,
never.
Never. So we're safe here. We can say whatever we want and get away with it during this particular hour. After this hour, you're back on your own, guys. No cone of safety. You're pretty much just screwed. So here is who is on the show today with me. We have returning from last year, Rick Bergeron, a good friend of mine, a horse husband to trainer and coach of the Right Lead Equestrian Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And the person that runs that's name is Michelle. That's his wife. And, we are good friends with Rick and Michelle. They spent a week with us during the World Equestrian Games last year. So I know Michelle very well, and I think I'm going to know the answer to some of the questions that you're gonna answer here before you even answer them, knowing Michelle a little bit here. Welcome back, Rick.
Well, thank you, Glenn. I'm excited to be back again this year. I always look forward to either listening to or participating in this, and it's not very often that I actually get a little cone of safety to be out of trouble with the wife. So I'm looking forward to this.
Well, one of the problems that listeners have with shows like this where we get so many people on is they can't tell us apart. This year, it's going to be very easy. I am the one with the weird Northeastern accent. Rick is the one with the Southern Cajun accent. And then we have Menno. And this is the first time, Menno, that we have had a horse husband on in the 3 years from out of the United States. And I'm very excited about that. If I'm considered America's horse husband, then our other guest would be considered Europe's horse husband. All the way from the Netherlands, Menno Kalman, author of the book, Women Are From Venus and So Are Their Horses. And Menno, I just have to read the dedication of the book because it says it all about us. For my wife, to whom I pledged myself through sickness, health, and horses. I think that just says it all. Hi, Menno, and welcome to the show.
Hey, Glenn. Yes, well, I'm very, very glad to be on the show. And like you said, I'm from Holland. So we don't have much opportunity to listen to the show. Most of the time, I think we are sleeping because of the time difference. But nevertheless, I think that we will wake up sometimes and listen some more often. Anyway, I'm really excited to be here.
Well, you wrote this book, and, it's fairly well known. And I know, Rick, you said before we started recording that you were checking it out on Amazon, and you were going to be ordering your copy of it here soon, right?
Yes, it is. Actually, from what I've read, just the few pages that are provided on Amazon, it it definitely hits home, and I'm sure I chuckled quite a bit at what Menno had written on the few pages I was able to see, and I can't wait to get the book in and read the rest of it, because obviously Menno has gone a mile into our shoes as well as a horse husband, too.
Yes, exactly. And Menno sort of, I read the book, and the one thing that wasn't really clear in the book, and I may have missed it, but I read the book, and then I got to thinking, and I looked back through the book. I could not find your wife's name anywhere in the book.
Yeah, well, that is a very good point. The thing is that my wife is still active in dressage, and she's also a judge. And she didn't think it was a very good idea to have her name, or anyway to have our name. So in Holland, I wrote this book under in anonymous, in pseudonym. What do you call it?
Oh, anonymously. Yeah, that's right.
Anonymously. Yeah, I used another name. The name that I used is something like. MK, which is Menno Kalman, but so only the initials MK and then husband of. So the name is husband of, but then of course in Dutch. And this is for my wife. That was the only condition that my wife said it's okay, because my wife had to take this all, of course, and she really was very supportive on everything that I wrote about her, but she said the only condition is that that she wanted to have our names a little secret, because then otherwise when she's in the going into the arena and everybody starts, oh, there's this terrible wife who is doing this and that to her man. But I'm having the other problem that I like to write, and I have another job, but of course I would like to be a writer, and now I'm selling incredibly lots of books in Holland. So I am very famous in Holland, but nobody knows it because I don't use my name. That is really a big pity. So it's... No, but
as long as you're able to cash the checks, I think things will be okay.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what my wife. You know how tricky she is. She says, I said, because people are asking her, do you don't mind Menno's writing all these terrible things about you? And then she says, well, as long as they know our bank account, and she's in the end the person spending all that money.
Exactly.
Right.
No horses.
That is one of the pitfalls of being a horse husband, obviously.
Exactly.
Well, Menno, we'll just to keep it that way, we'll refer to her as your wife throughout this whole thing, and we won't use her first name.
No, but in the other countries we use our own names. So her name is Margriet.
Margaret. Okay.
Margriet. So because in the English version I use my own name, and it's also translated to German, and also there we use our real names.
Okay.
Only in Holland we are a little uncovered.
And you're in what part of the Netherlands now? You're where?
Well, Holland is so small that I'm in Holland, and
you're in Holland. Okay.
I'm in the middle, completely in the middle, and I live in on the countryside, and we came from a village. When I met my wife, we were living in a village, and then, well, you know how it goes. We married, and she didn't mention that horse thing so much, and then the moment we got married, she said, "Oh yeah, there's one thing I have to tell you." I really must have a horse, otherwise. So we had to move to another part of the country where we could have horses and so on. So
you definitely married into this. You were not a horse person before this.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay. And Rick, were you a horse person before you married into this?
Well, I could point to the southbound end of a northbound horse, and that was probably about as much as I knew about him when I got married. Kind of like Menno talked about in the book, the first several years, and the engineering mind that I have, you're trying to make sense of the foreign language, and it definitely is a totally different vocabulary. But no, I had not ridden a horse. I think I might have touched one on a trail ride in Tennessee one time in the Smoky Mountains, but beyond that, no, I was a horse virgin when I got married.
And you were down in Louisiana, so you're a Cajun country, right?
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, you probably spent more time with alligators than horses at that point.
Well, at least eating them anyway.
Well, now
alligators. That is.
Now, Menno, you said that she did she have a horse when you got married, or did that come after?
No, that came after. I was working very hard by the time, and she also had a job, but she started to talk about horses more and more and more, and I was thinking, everybody has hobbies, and so I was thinking, well, what is going on? I thought I had the incredible stupid idea. I thought that if we would buy a horse, then she would stop talking about that. that would be the end of it. So
yeah, you were naive.
Wrong.
And then wrong. But we were living in a city then, so we had that horse in another place, in
right.
the riding school, what do you call it? So, and that was really a nightmare because we came home from work and then have dinner very quickly and then run off to that place. So next step.
Now you have your own farm now, right? Because that's what I read in the book. Yeah, and Rick does too. He has his own place down there in Louisiana as well. I'm the only one in this call right now that actually doesn't have their own place. But believe me, I have owned. We had the 100-acre farm with 25 horses and boarding stable for a lot of years. So I know the story. It's just right now I'm kind of enjoying, guys. I got to be honest with you. I'm kind of enjoying not having our own farm right now.
Well, that's what I was about to say. What do you do with all the time you have now?
Oh, it's so nice. It is nice. I don't have to go to the barn to see the horse unless I want to go to the barn to see the horse. That is kind of nice, I got to tell you. But, Menno, you missed out on something that I think Rick and I probably went through. Our women were into horses when we got together, and I know Michelle was too, right, Rick?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was. Actually, Michelle and I met in college at Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, Louisiana Scholars College. And at the time, she was actually, they had a barn at school, and she was down there, not necessarily teaching, but she was actually riding and into a lot of the horse activities there. And actually started an intercollegiate team, which the colleges have an opportunity to compete against each other. And so I knew she rode, and I had been down to the barn once or twice. And okay, the horses are nice, but there's flies and there's manure and there's all the stuff associated with it. And I guess I kind of thought of it as a hobby at the time and didn't realize, as we know now, that it is definitely a way of life. And it really didn't hit too much full force until after we had graduated and she had moved down here and we had gotten married, and she was still looking at barns and had started teaching at that time, and lo and behold, the first horse came, and then pretty much it was full tilt after that.
Did you ever get the "Don't ever say it's me or the horse" lecture?
Like more than once, you're talking about?
Yeah, but I have to correct that because my wife Margriet was into horses. She started riding when she was 7 or so, and she was riding her whole life. But she'd never had a horse, but always on barns, and so when I met her, I just, like what you just said, I thought it was just a hobby of her, and I also had a hobby. I play squash and I play music, so I thought, hey, it's good. Everybody has hobbies, and exactly after a while, you find out that this is nothing like a hobby. It's a way of life, even more than a way of life. So I married her, and I said, well, it's good to have a hobby. She has a hobby, I have a hobby, and now look at me now. I am.
You have no hobby, and she has her hobby. Yeah.
Yes, and I am at this moment, at this very moment, she is with a friend to a clinic, some kind of clinic for a guy from Belgium showing new natural riding dressage, and I'm here all alone and doing the stables and feeding, and yes, I'm busy all day.
It doesn't matter what country you're in. When you're married to a horsewoman, you're married to a horsewoman. The rules are all the same. It doesn't matter what country.
Oh, no.
It is.
Her hobby is now your hobby, and you have no hobbies.
But that's because you don't have enough money to have a hobby because all the money's going for her hobby.
Yes, exactly. But in the end, first of all, I thought, well, this is good. And when I bought this first horse, I said, okay, this is the deal. I buy you a horse, but I don't want to have anything to do with it. It's your horse, and I have my life, and I buy it. I have a little money separate. That is for the horse. We buy that, and yeah, okay, that's the deal.
No, but
and it turned out to be a little different.
Yeah.
Buying a horse is the cheap part.
Yes, exactly.
Everything that comes after.
That's true.
Okay, you have to buy the horse, and now you've got the horse. Well, now it needs shoes, and it needs special feed. And it needs to have this halter. And oh, by the way, we need more than one color halter. We have to have a regular halter and a show halter, and then we need a working bridle and a show bridle. And oh, wait a minute, I'm going to go into eventing, so I actually need dressage saddles and jumping saddles and more than one of each. And then you don't want to use your show saddles to train in. So, and then you need the trailer, and you're going to have the truck to pull the trailer. And then it is a very capital-intensive thing to be involved in.
And the only thing we really care about and really were excited about in that whole entire scenario was we got to pick out the truck to pull it with. that was the thing we were most excited about as horse husbands. We got to pick out a really cool big truck.
Well, this is really surprising to me what you're telling me now. Are you allowed to pull the trailer when the horse is inside?
Yes, actually,
I'm not.
But it was after a lot of training. We go through a lot of training.
I'm not.
You're
training
not?
of the horse and training of the person.
Yes.
we drive into vacation. I drive 15 hours nonstop. She never takes the steering wheel for a second. I'm driving. But if we go anywhere with the horse, she's driving. And then in the beginning she let me drive, and then at every curve she started to cry, "Oh, be careful! Oh, this is such a pity for the horse! Oh, and let's stop and let's look if he fell." And when I'm driving half the speed that she does, but no, I gave that up, and that is easier for when you have to wait very long, and when you're in the beer stand, then it's for me okay when she's driving back.
Yeah, now wait, hold up. I got to ask this question because I noticed reading in your book, Menno, you had mentioned about beer stands. How do I get beer stands at my horse shows?
Yeah, we don't have those at our horse shows.
That would make life go so much easier.
That is a good point. Well, we have. I don't know how that is organized over there, but we have here two type of competition. One is national, organized by the big shows, but you have this really local competition that is more like on a farmer's field somewhere, and this is like more like a carnival organized. It's with all kind of fun and all kind of little stands and little shops buying where you can buy bridles and competition bridles and bling bling bridles and brown bridles and so on and so forth. So, and you can also buy beer over there. So that's my favorite indeed.
Yeah, I bet it is. Well, guys, I have some questions for you I want to get to, and we're going to do that right after our first commercial by our title sponsor today, Omega Alpha. Omega Alpha is one of those companies that we spend money on because they provide the supplements that our wives' horses need. Omega Alpha Pharmaceuticals creates only natural health products. Their scientists, guided by Dr. Gordon Chang, formulate a wide variety of mainly herbal health products to address many equine health problems. And I have on the line here Kyle Carter, who is an international eventer and well-known throughout the eventing world, who uses Omega Alpha products. Kyle, I understand that you started using Omega Alpha about a year ago.
Yeah, I've been using it for about a year and have noticed a remarkable difference in the horses that have been on it, and then if they've come off of it, the horse's health always has been better on it. It's one of the few supplement companies that I wholeheartedly believe in.
Well, thank you, Kyle. Omega Alpha brings consumers the perfect marriage of nature and science. Look for all of their products at retailers nationwide or visit their website at omegaalpha.ca. That's omegaalpha.ca. Okay, we're back, and I am here with Menno Coleman, who wrote the book Women Are From Venus and So Are Their Horses, and also Rick Bergeron, whose wife runs the Wright Lead Equestrian Center. And, of course, I'm Glenn the Geek, and America's Horse Husband. And I think people know a lot about me, so I'm going to be asking you guys questions here. I thought we'd start off with a positive question first. What is the most, and I think I know Menno's answer to this already because it's in his book, and we'll see if he comes out with the one I think. What is the most special moment for you when you're in the barn with your wife?
When we got to live here, and the street where I'm living is a dead end street, and it ends in the forest. And so after a while, I decided, hey, I'm living here. I'm having stables. I'm having horses, so I must ride as well. So that is what we decided. So I got a few lessons from my wife, and what I like most is to go riding, trail riding out here, and together with my wife, and that is really very pleasant.
Now, you said something that didn't work for me when I tried it. Lessons with my wife. That didn't work. That didn't work for us. How did that work for you? Taking lessons from your wife.
Until the day of today, it doesn't work.
Yes.
Yes. I go out. The thing is, I always ride on a horse that is actually one of her dressage horses.
Oh no!
So then,
that's a first mistake.
No, but we don't have other horses. So she lets me on one of them, and then, this is a shame and this is bad for him. So then I have to learn some things. So that I don't that I don't make very big mistakes. But anyway,
you're doomed. Everything you do, Menno, is going to be wrong when you're riding one of her dressage horses. You're just messing it up.
I am. So, and next time when she's riding it, the horse is completely upside down and doesn't react to left or right anymore. It's terrible, I know. But what can I do?
Yeah, right.
And I always tell her I don't need lessons because, riding out is very easy. We go very often in a group. And then the front man, he shouts, we go to canter. And then everybody like an explosion goes, and my horse just follows everyone. And then we go to trot. And then everybody likes like a big clash runs into the horse in front of him, and then everybody stops. So finally I get home in one piece, and it works fine. But and for me it's okay, and it's enough. But for my wife, she wants to learn me things. So actually today I was in our own riding arena here, and I have a new horse here that my old horse is retired, and I have a new horse here, and I have to learn walking and trot and canter to do that. And this animal doesn't want to canter when I'm on it. And then she goes on it, and she says, hey, look, it's so easy. I do this and this and this, and then very easy. And then I go, and the horse just looks around. What do you want from me?
Right.
I just do anything at all. And then I say, I don't want to learn that all. If I go out, riding out, trail riding, I don't have all these troubles. It works for me.
Now, Rick, do you ride at all?
Only when I'm forced.
That's about.
No, I have paddock boots. I have a helmet. I have. I actually have breeches. I look okay in them, but
oh, no guy looks good in breeches. I don't care what you say.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to put paint on a lipstick on the pig, but I actually went as far as to buy a horse one time that I could ride, but I guess I'm the kind of guy. I'm somewhat of a perfectionist, and if I don't have the time to devote to doing it correctly, I kind of don't want to do it. Kind of like Menno says, if you're out and you can do a trail ride and just be with a group, then that's fine. But riding around in circles for an hour with your wife hollering at you to put the outside heel down, and you're trying to figure out how in the hell she can see it through the horse, just is not my opportunity or not my definition of a good time.
And I'm not much of a rider. Everybody knows from the shows that I actually am a driver. I love to drive carriages and I love to drive horses. For me, it's got the speed element to it. And, I'm not sitting up on top. I'm behind and I feel safer back there. And it's so funny because my wife won't ride with me because she says it's way too dangerous. So and I'm going, what? But Menno, the point I was getting at in the book, and it's one of my favorite times. I think if we're going to do the positive first, and then we'll get to trashing them later. But one of my favorite times, and you mentioned it in a chapter called Moments of Peace. And I'm going to read the first sentence. The sound of the stable full of horses just finishing their meal. There was no more special time for me than the end of the day. It's dark out. You've put all the horses in. It's probably a chilly night, and all the horses are eating. And the only sound left is the horses eating their dinner. Because for me, that meant, well, first of all, it was a peaceful sound. It's very relaxing. And it also meant your frickin' day was over. You were done fixing fences. You were done feeding horses. You were done cleaning poop. You were done emptying the manure spreader. You were done all of those things, and it was so quiet and peaceful, and you went, now I can go in the house and eat myself. So Menno, I totally agree with that chapter in your book there about the peaceful time.
Yeah, but they have sometimes even after that they will have surprises.
That's true.
Yeah, I've had it more often than we are. That is for us really in summer. It's nice. They're all happy and standing there, very quiet, peaceful. And then we having dinner and we watching television, and then I hear clack-a-boom or something like that. And then my wife looks at me, and we look at each other, and then she says, Menno, go look what happened. And then
you got to get dressed, put your shoes on.
Yeah, and then always something happens. I have a little pony, and we have sometimes just a wheelbarrow that is turned around. That's no problem, but we have little paddocks that they can go out of the stable, and they have a little like a back garden, and so they can go out by themselves if they want. They can choose to be in or out, and so that are a lot of wooden fences, and they tend to break that fences when they play together. So they have also after when they should be unstable peacefully, they also break things and wake me up or break the water tube,
Yep. And, I can't tell you how many times at night we had pretty secure fences, but I can't tell you how many times at night we would get woken up with a knock on the door at 2 a.m. that our horses were out running around on the road. And, you'd have to go out and chase them down at 2 a.m. and then figure out where they broke the fence. And what a mess. What a mess. I have to ask you guys, and I'll start with Rick. There are certain chores around the barn that I actually enjoyed. There are certain things that I actually enjoyed to do around the barn. But what is the one or two that you actually dread the most? Those chores around the barn, around the farm that you actually go, I hate to do that.
Let's see, which one? One would probably be having to clean out from around the wash rack. I mean, we all have wash racks at our facilities that tend to drain somewhere, and that somewhere typically will get clogged up with grass and manure and hair and everything else, and essentially at some point you've got to get out there with a shovel and get in the mud and shovel it all out and throw it off to the side and know that it's going to get filled right back up again.
Right, yeah.
That's probably one of the worst ones that's out there because it's smelly, it's messy. There's worms all in the mud.
How about you, Menno? What's the thing you don't like the most?
Well, for me, I have one ever coming back returning nightmare, and that is that my wife calls me when she is riding in the arena. We have the barn, and next to the barn we have our own arena, for training and so on. And then she's riding, and then she calls me, and then she says, something is wrong. And then I have to look, then, I think, and then she says, I think he is maybe his left hind leg or I said, yeah, really something is wrong. And then I have to stand in the middle. Don't you see it? Oh, you never see something. And I can feel it. I'm not crazy. I'm riding my whole life. I feel he's limp, he's limping left. And I see nothing in there. Yes, he is doing the tump, the tump, the tump. That is not regular. So and I said, no, he is doing tump, 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 tump. I see his legs going in a good rhythm. And then, that is really coming back so often that, horses.
And it's almost like, Menno, why do they ask me in the first place? They know I don't know.
Yep.
Exactly. All the time I tell her, don't ask me. I always say to her, you know what? I get a video camera and I will tape it and you can look at it.
Exactly.
I don't see it. And that's
it's kind of like the question being asked, does this make me look fat?
Exactly.
No matter what you say, you're wrong. You will be wrong. Just play stupid.
Exactly.
I have two that were my least favorite. Fixing the fence. No matter what kind of fence you have, it just seems like you spend endless amounts of time fixing the darn fence. And it's like, it doesn't matter whether you have wooden fence or electric fence or whatever you have, the fence is always down somewhere. And if it's not down, you have to walk the fence line to make sure there's no nails that have popped out. It's just, fence is just a nightmare for horse husbands. And then the second one, this is one we never could afford really nice new trailers. So we always had older horse trailers, and they always had wiring problems. I can't tell you, fighting with wiring in trailers was one of the banes of my existence. I hated fighting with wiring in trailers. That's one of the worst. That's the one. Yeah. Those were my two least favorite of all those things. Rick, you told me before the show that you were out fixing fences yesterday.
Yeah, we have a new horse at the farm that actually I think was competed in some 3-star events, and the 5-foot fence at our facility, he decided that he didn't want to be in it anymore and took one of the top rails partially out, at least kind of cracked it. We've got him under control again, but yep, I ended up having to replace a rail just yesterday.
Yeah, fences, there's 3 things with fences. They're either there's not enough of them, or they're not in the right place, or they're falling apart. It's 3 things all the time with fences that just need moved, or they're never in the right place, or there's just not enough of them, and we have to cut this field in half. It's just always something with fences.
And especially electric fences.
Yes, because they're.
I have had a very strange experience here that it was about 2 years ago in the summer. It was so hot, so just a very long time, very hot, and the ground was so dry that the horses didn't ground. You have to make an electrical circuit actually to make connection. And if the horse is not connected to the ground, the fence doesn't work.
Right.
So it was such an incredible trouble. And we had this young horse. He was about 1.5 years, and he was every 10 minutes breaking through the electric fence and running in the street and running in the village. And then I had to call, help. I called the fence supplier. What can I do? I don't get, power on that fence. And then they said, well, the problem is that it's like as if the horse is standing on an isolated plate, and then luckily it started raining and then it was working. So it's a nightmare. And the horses who want to break out through the fence, that's a nightmare. Once they know it, they make these wire of the electric fence so that it breaks when the horse runs through, that it doesn't damage the horse.
Right.
So, safety fence, right.
Yeah, and Menno, over there, do you have mostly electric fences, or do they have wooden fences, or a little bit of both? Or
no, we have everywhere where it's possible. We have wooden fences for our own place, but we always rent land from farmers here, from neighbor farmers. And they have this, what do you call that? That electric wire with where you can, very dangerous horses.
Yeah, with the charger there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we have to put electric fence about 1 meter in front of that to keep the horses away from that. So I'm always also placing electric fences.
Yeah,
So,
well, I know that feeling. We had miles of it, and it wasn't much. It wasn't much fun, that's for sure. Well, let's take another quick break, and when we come back, I have a couple more questions for you. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about was secret credit cards and the money that they spend. So we'll be right back after this. Glenn the Geek here. I was involved in equestrian retail for a long time, and I know one of the problems that we always had and always the complaints that we always had was from men saying there's just not enough men's options in clothing and riding boots and gloves and jackets and pretty much anything was always geared, especially in the eventing world, to women's. Well, now you can find a selection. You can find a huge selection of men's items at equestriancollections.com. They have show and casual apparel, riding boots, thermal gear, gloves and jackets. They basically can cover you from head to toe. So if you're a guy out there and have always had that problem where you can't find products you want, check out equestriancollections.com. They have a ton of different brands. They have a ton of different styles. You're going to like what you find at equestriancollections.com. Well, we're back, and I'm here with Menno and Rick, and we're talking about what it's like to be horse husbands in the third annual Horse Husband edition of the Stable Scoop Radio Show. And, I wanted to ask you guys two things horsewomen are not known for is housekeeping or cooking. As a general rule, they're not good housekeepers and they're not good cooks. They will make excellent mash and bran and things for the horses. They will keep the barn spotless. Boy, but when it comes to the house, they don't care. And, I realize that's a generalization, but it's a pretty true generalization from the hundreds of horsewomen I've seen. So how is Michelle? Does she care about the house or is it all about the barn?
It's all about the barn. You're a horse husband when she uses her $50,000 BMW as a barn vehicle.
Yes, and puts hay in the trunk that you never get out.
Well, of course, we buy this big truck to pull the trailer, and she gets to drive the sports car, and, the truck gets to go back and forth to me with work every day, and the BMW is hauling feed and hauling hay and hauling saddles and hauling everything associated with the farm. And you do what you got to do, but I don't know the last time she's washed it.
And once you get hay stuck in the carpet in the car, it never comes out.
Oh, no. It takes a pair of tweezers to get it out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Been there, done that.
How about you, Menno? Does she care about the house or is it all about the barn?
Well, to avoid I was afraid that we would starve, so I started to cook. And meanwhile, I'm a very good cook, I must say. I'm the cook in the house, and I do quite a lot in the house. But like exactly what you just explained about the situation of how they are, it was as if you were talking about my wife. 100%. It's spick and span. It's so clean. The barn is so clean, and when she comes into the house, when we are Dutch people, so we have wooden shoes. We really have that. And
do you really?
Yeah, we have. And she goes into the barn, and when we have visitors and everything, she said, "Oh, we have to clean the barn and the other place, where you clean the horses in the barn." And it has to be incredibly clean. And then she goes into the house and she leaves the wooden shoes outside. But when you look into that, there is just a stack of hay inside of that. And she's running that into the house. And it's a mess.
Yep.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, you might be a little lucky. In South Louisiana, it's not hay, it's mud. We have mud all the time. Right now it's kind of a rainy season, springtime, so we just track mud all over the place. As a matter of fact, there was a 2-for-1. The horse that took the fence out the other night also splashed in the mud and splashed it all over the car. So
oh dear,
the car's full of mud too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same way here. Jennifer could care less. She'll keep the barn spotless, but when it comes in the house, throw the dirty clothes on the floor, and it all smells like barn. Your whole house, of course, smells like stalls and muck and manure, because it just permeates the clothing, and then it gets in the house. And where does the clothing end up? But in the hamper, in the bedroom where you sleep, so that smells like horse all the time.
And then apart to that, slowly she changes also the whole interior of the house into a barn in our place. And also, for instance, all the paintings on the walls, it's only horses. And pictures of her on competition, but also painting of horses, famous horses and very old horses, and we have little bronze statues of horses, and I only see horses. And then we go to sleep, and she puts on a pajama with bridles on it, and I have a toothbrush in the shape of a horseshoe, and it's
and then what happens when we try to put up a single girl calendar with tools or whatever on the wall,
right.
and no, that doesn't fit.
Now, I will have to give my wife some credit there, because she will let me hang a Hooters calendar on the wall.
Lucky you.
And she actually bought me a Carrie Underwood 3-foot tall poster to hang above my desk that I had for a year above my desk of Carrie Underwood looking very provocative. So she does give me that little bit of space in my office where I can actually do what I want to do.
My wife knows better than that. I've got no leash. I'm on a very short lead rope.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. Menno,
Glenn, before it leaves my mind, Glenn.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit earlier about riding our wives' horses, their show horses or their competition horses. Kind of the way that I would put that into guy speak. It'd be the same thing if we would own a Porsche 911 Carrera S with a stick shift, and you would let the wife drive it while you were in the passenger seat.
Yeah, that would probably be about the same.
She might have the capability to do it, you'd be extremely nervous while she was doing it.
That is true.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. But on the other hand, I have to, because maybe to add something to the positive part that we started with, I had this when I just started riding, and that is about 15 years ago. And I had the little lessons, and she said you have to know the steering wheel and the brakes, and that's all. And then you can.
But wait a minute, the steering wheel's not up front. That's what's confusing. The steering wheel's down below in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. But that was a very easy and friendly horse. I have to say that. But she taught me that, and I'm also engineer, so I'm also a very technical guy, and I understand what she explains to me, and I do that. So, and then I never forget, we went out riding, and it was on the morning of Christmas, the 25th, and there was snow everywhere, and we went out. It was very quiet, and we went out riding, and we saw all kind of animals, deer, and what do you call wild pigs we have here, and these animals were looking at us, and we were just walking very slowly, and that was really fantastic. And then I said to her, well, this is something I want to do. This is something I want to do again. So that's one of my most positive experiences. Mm-hmm. It's all that is 15 years ago.
I will say, though, I think we all agree, and I know Rick well enough to know this too, that if we're talking about positive experiences, we've all come to appreciate and love the horses. And I think maybe we have done that out of necessity too, in that we knew we had to, or we were going to be out the door. So, but over the years we get softer and softer, and we come to love them as much as they do. And at one point, I actually owned more horses than my wife did. So there, I'm throwing it down. I'm throwing it down as America's horse husband, and I actually owned more than she did at one point. But one of the things about being a horse husband that I want to get to, and we have one more break to take here, and we'll come back and I want to talk about this. And there's a couple more things before we wrap up here today. One of the things is the secret credit cards, and I want to find out if you know of any, and if you've had that experience, and also the cost of being a horse husband. Regular listeners to the Stable Scoop Show know that Helena and I just love Uncle Jimmy's and his fantastic line of products. His products have the highest quality ingredients, and that is why they have taken off like they have. Of course, it all started with Uncle Jimmy's hanging balls for use in the stalls, and then came squeezy buns. We know you need to reward your horse outside of the stall as well. That is why Uncle Jimmy developed Uncle Jimmy's Squeezy Buns. Squeezy Buns are all natural and loaded with nutritional ingredients for your horse. Unlike similar products on the market, they are individually wrapped to preserve freshness and eliminate mess. With competitive pricing and Uncle Jimmy's quality guarantee, the Squeezy Buns promise to be a hit among horses and horse lovers alike. Learn more about all of Uncle Jimmy's products or to find a dealer, visit uncle-jimmys.com. That's uncle-jimmys.com.
You know you're a horse husband when you've handled Uncle Jimmy's balls.
All right, and we're back. You know, I got to say, guys, we owned a tack shop for a long time, and these women used to come in, and I'd be checking them out, and they would hand a credit card, and if they knew that...
Wait. You're checking out the women coming in the tack shop?
Yes, well, both checking them out and checking them out, both, yes. And when we were ringing them up, they would hand us the credit card, and they would say, "Oh, don't tell my husband about this one," if they knew that we knew the husband. Because they had secret credit cards for buying their horse stuff. So you know, does Michelle have a secret credit card?
Well, Glenn, I kind of hate to disappoint you. There's not really going to be much of a story there. Actually, Michelle does not.
That you know about.
Since we own the farm, and she runs it like a business, she's probably one of the more frugal people that I've ever met, but she will also account for every penny that we take in. There's a lot of people in the horse industry that don't do that, but she's one of the ones that will. Actually, if you're really going on the credit card side, it's probably more my fault than anything else, because I'm the one that's going out and buying the treated lumber or the pipe to repair this or the seed to put down or the feed. It's probably more of my fault for overrunning the credit cards than it is her.
Wow, you might get some. You might not be on the couch tonight after she listens to this.
Don't be so sure. I'm not done yet.
How about you, Menno? Is there such a thing as secret credit cards in Europe?
Well, we have the bad news is that is this whole internet thing, because you can buy everything by internet today, and I mean really everything. And she's doing that, And really, and I'm not kidding, she's doing that every day. And I say, what? And we have this other system that is like, like eBay, that you can sell stuff as well.
Yep.
So there is, this horse, what I just explained, this horse, he is hurting somewhere in his back, and what is it? And, it's stupid details. But anyway, she needs a new saddle, a saddle with air, I don't know if you know these saddles.
Yep.
Have air cushions, and well, we buy that saddle. It cost about €2,500, let's say $3,000, but it moves backwards, and nobody knows. So we have to buy all kind of accessories to keep it in place, and then after all, it is not working, and we're buying the cheapest saddle that you can get, and it fits perfect. And I say, so that is great. What are we going to do with this terrible expense? Okay, we are selling this on the internet, and she sells it for $800. So, and then and she's doing all that, and then suddenly she comes to me and says, "I have very good news. The saddle is sold." And then she has $800 and says, "So now I can spend this $800.
Yeah,
I earned it." Yeah.
Yep.
And that is really no joke. That is how it's going every day. And but she's, her argument is always the horse. His back is hurting, and he needs. covering for his feet, and he needs another bridle, and that bridle is irritating him, and it's endless.
You're absolutely right. It is endless, and one of the things that happens too is they'll come to us and say, I just bought this, but I got such a great deal. I saved 50%.
Yeah, exactly.
They still spent $2,000, but they saved 50%. Yeah.
Glenn, I think I might have said it last year, Glenn, but there's a saying out there that a boat is the hole in the water into which you throw money. Well, the guy who's made up that saying never had a horse.
I think that I could have been incredibly rich when I wasn't married to my wife.
I'd have blown the money somewhere else.
Yeah, I'd have blown it too. I'd have probably blown it too. I gotta say,
exactly, because I am
or something.
But I have to say, in all honesty, that we are having incredibly much fun together, and we have everything that we need. We're not very rich, and like I said, I'm working quite hard, and we're spending all our money on this nonsense, but we're having very much fun.
Yeah. Okay. So that one of the things, and what you wanted to bring, you want to bring up the good side there. One of the things that I was going to ask is one of the final questions, and I think you've just started answering it. And I thought about this the other day when we were preparing for this show. I thought, if God forbid something happened to my wife, would I want to go out with another horse girl? Would I pick another horsewoman? And you know what was the strange thing? Is my answer to myself was yes, I probably would. So I think you were just saying that too, Menno. Now that we're in this life, I can't see it being different than this.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that is very strange indeed. And I will have to talk to my shrink about this, but I think
that's another book, Menno.
Yeah, that is the third book. No, but I think you're right, because this has become a part of my life as well. And we are like all animals. We are routine animals. And when we are on holidays, this 4 days a year that we find somebody to look after our horses.
And by the way, where every day you're on holiday, she's worried and calling back about the horses, right?
Of course. Yeah, and then we make all kind of wanderings. We make nice tours, but every 10 minutes she says, "Hey, if we move to here, then this horse could stand there, and that could stand there, and here she is." It's all. But anyway, if we are out, then if we're on holidays, then after 3 days, I also miss this routine, and I miss these animals, because I really love the horses. We have one foal of our own, foal, our own breed. So that is very nice to have, to see him grow and to see him doing his little work now, starting to do it, and he enjoys it. And I like, maybe in contrary to you, I like to build things. So repairing fences is not my worst thing.
Well, now, Rick, I know that you guys just went through a tough time, and I know that listeners to this show and to our morning show, Horses in the Morning, know we talk about Michelle, and we've had her on the show several times, and we know that you've had a horse, one of the babies actually, 2 going on 3, that had colic, had a couple of colic surgeries, and then after a long struggle did not make it. So I ask you, you've been through this tough time recently, which tends to bring, husbands and wives, horse husbands and horse wives together. Would you ever see yourself not being with a horse person again?
Well, on the lighter side, let me ask this question. Does Carrie Underwood have horses?
Well, I think where Carrie Underwood's involved, that's an exception every time. My wife and I still have that list, that 5 people that are on that list. You know what I'm talking about? That list that if you ever had the chance, you have permission. And Carrie Underwood is on the top of my list. So I think we can exclude Carrie Underwood from that and just say she's definitely the exception.
Well, getting back, I guess, to your original question, it's been a roller coaster of a ride. Your original question, you sort of asked about, what is the best thing you can have at the barn. For me, what I typically see, and I'll get mushy here for a minute, there is a horse-human relationship that is formed. And for me, one of the most rewarding things I see is watching Michelle help people strengthen that relationship. If there's something that's there that the horse is not doing right, or the person is not doing right, or something is not going right, she can intervene and get in there and help people strengthen that relationship. And for me, at the end of the day, watching that rider be able to have a better relationship with the horse is kind of what it's worth all the heartache and everything you go through. That makes it even more difficult with what we just went through with Sprite. As you mentioned, Sprite was turning 3. We planned her. We actually had her bred. She was part Cleveland Bay, which is, people probably know, is a very rare breed. We picked out her stud from Ridgemore Farms up in Tennessee and had the semen flown down and artificially inseminated our part-bred Cleveland Bay, and then had the embryo flushed and put into a surrogate mare who carried it to term, and Sprite was born on our property. Kind of a surprise. With all the plans and everything else we had in place, we showed up one morning, and then bam, there she is on the ground. And pretty much hit the ground running, and was very, very cute, very inquisitive, very much a different personality. And everybody that met her fell in love with her. And as you mentioned, things were coming along. She's very promising. Michelle spent a lot of time working with her and training her, and we're really starting to get to the point where we're hoping this year to be able to show her some in hand and move her around, and she had just gotten started under saddle. And Christmas Day, she started showing signs of colic. And we brought her in, and they did surgery eventually. And fortunately, they didn't have to do any resections. They were able to manually manipulate it out and sewed her back up. And okay, we got through that one. Everything is fine. Now we just need to get on the road to recovery. Well, if anybody that's had colic surgery or dealt with that before, you do know that you've got to spend a lot more time with your animal. They have to be hand grazed. They have to be kept inside. So Michelle committed herself. The farm committed itself. Everybody committed itself to getting Sprite better. And a month later, she colicked again. Brought her back in. This time it was adhesions from the first surgery that caused it. They had to do a resection. They put her back together, sewed her back up, and okay, we got through that one, and we'll get better. And then here just a couple of weeks ago, she colicked again. And at that point, we had to make the difficult decision because the vets were telling us that, they could fix her, but it's just going to occur again. And so we had to make that difficult decision to let her go. And, we're still going through the grieving process, but I can also tell you that the horse community and the friends that we have and the people that, even listeners, people that listen to Stable Scoop and the morning show, and we've just gotten nothing but well wishes from everybody, and everybody at the farm, the cards, the flowers, just the hugs. It's just going to take time, and it's a hard thing to do because that bond that I talked about earlier that you form with the horses is something that is extremely unique. And for Michelle and I, we don't have kids, so our horses are sort of like our children. So it's extremely difficult, but at the end of the day, there's got to be downs with the ups, and that's one of the things that we as horse owners understand. I mean, anybody that owns animals, period. You own a dog, 10, 15 years is going to be the max life you get out of them. Horses, 20 or 30 years. They are going to pass. You are going to outlive them. But, in the end, would I trade it for anything else? No, I wouldn't.
Well, I think that's the answer. I think we've all said it. We married into it not knowing what we were getting into, being super naive as horse boyfriends and then horse husbands. And here in the end, we wouldn't leave it. So I can't think of a better way, actually, to end the show. I will say that you can find Menno's book, Women Are From Venus and So Are Their Horses, a grown man's musings on the opposite sex in the saddle. And that's you can find that on Amazon over here. It's very easy to get, and it's worth taking a read. If you want to get your husband something for his birthday or for Christmas coming up this year that he will certainly appreciate, then you want to get it. You want to get him this book.
He will laugh.
Menno, you did a great job. I applaud you. What a great book.
Thank you very much. There's a second one coming up, by the way.
And what's the second one? Same vein?
No, the same. Yeah, it's the same theme, but it's the first book are actually columns that I wrote for a magazine here, and the second one is a book which is an entire story about the horse that we bred ourselves, the Fall.
Yep.
And it looks very much like the story that Rick just told, with the difference that until now everything went well, but we have had incredible problems with that horse, and we went to 25 different therapists, veterinaries, but also magicians and all kind of natural healers, and it's incredible what people all find out to do for your horse, and what they charge. You can send an email with a picture of your horse, and then there is a man who is putting then diamond stones. He prints it out, putting diamond stones on that picture, and then he charges you $200 to do that. And
well, he has to buy the diamonds somehow, Menno.
Yeah. No, but we had.
At the end of the day, you'll spend whatever you need to spend. You'll throw the checkbook in the fire just to be able to keep that relationship going.
Yep.
Exactly, Rick. Right. And that is what we did. And I wrote a book about only that, because we have been in really without. No, it's really the truth. We have been at least 15 different therapists, and the first one told it, which was a university clinic. They told us that we better could let this horse go because there was no chance for healing. And now, today, my wife was riding it, and the horse is perfectly all right and feeling well. But it's amazing what's also in this field, in this medical field, what you can what's happening. But that will be that's the second book. It's released in Holland, and it will be released in maybe a year or so in the United States as well.
Will you let me know when it's released in the United States, and we'll have you back on the show?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right, great. That'll be terrific. And, of course, you can find Rick's place. It's Right Lead Equestrian Center at rightlead.com, and that's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And Jennifer and I were just talking the other day that we have to set a date and we have to get down there to see you guys. So,
well, ma'am, brought yourself down yet?
Yeah, and you know what, Menno? I got to tell you, Rick is one of the best cooks you're ever going to meet. So I'm looking forward to going down and just eating. And those guys can go play horses. We'll take a ride down to the city and
there you go.
New Orleans, and we'll let them play horses, and we'll just go eat our way through and drink our way through. Through New Orleans.
Sounds very good.
Yep. We can definitely do that. You just missed Mardi Gras.
I know, and I've never been to Mardi Gras either. I got to do that one of these days. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you being on. And remember, you can find all of the shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. Helene and I will be back next week together doing a show again. And it's been fun, guys. Thank you for being with me on the 3rd annual Horse Husbands episode. And we actually got a little squishy. I think our pride must be a little hurt here today.
Well, there was only 3 of us, not 4 of us this year.
That's true.
We were a guy down.
All right. Thanks, guys.
I enjoyed it very much, Glenn. Very much. Thanks a lot.